Bonjour. Bonjour tout le monde, bienvenue au premier infusion du programme Focus. I'm going to continue this presentation in English, given that some of the people here are bilingual and some are more comfortable in English. And so this presentation was planned in the context of the Focus program of ZOO. And we figured it would be an interesting opportunity for people outside of the program that have not been selected to benefit from some of the learning that the entrepreneurs will benefit from. Just so you know, this is not a COVID-19 presentation. This is a presentation about OKRs. So if you're here for that, I'm gonna tell you, do not waste your time with this, because this is really about the entrepreneurial skills and how to set goals and the OKR frameworks. And Valerie Forger from Bonjour Startup Montréal and the Osmo Foundation will be talking specifically about that. Feel free to ask your questions in the Q&A section and in the chat section. We will be taking them along the way, and I'll be facilitating the conversation with Valerie. So without further ado, I'm gonna let Valerie take the stage and go ahead with her presentation. Hi, Valerie, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Very good. Yourself?
Good. All right, so I'm gonna let you take over.
Good. Thanks. Well, nice to meet you, everybody, even though I don't see you, but I'm happy to be with you this morning and talk about this amazing subject about goal setting. And I'd be happy to hear your questions or comments as they come during the presentation or even at the end. So today's workshop, as Noor mentioned, is about goal setting. I'm going to present you the OKR framework. I don't know if you've heard about it, maybe in the course of the program. It's a framework that we use a lot in our program to help entrepreneurs develop their entrepreneurial skills and focus on the outcomes of their execution and their efforts, and to, of course, identify the right goals to work on. So very quickly, we have an hour together. For sure, I'd like to hear you. So I've reserved a period at the end of more or less 20 minutes for your Q&As, but you feel free to ask questions as they come. I've reserved a little 10 minutes intro, a period of 25 minutes to explain the OKR framework. You'll see something that's very simple, very straightforward. So there's not a lot of content, but it's easy to implement. And there's also a little 5 minutes for some tips at the end of the workshop. So let me introduce myself, because I think most of you don't know me. I'm the Innovation Director at Osmo. We also launched the initiative Bonjour Startup, so I wear two hats. And Osmo and Bonjour Startup is a non-for-profit. Our mission is to support the growth and the development of the Montreal startup ecosystem. I lead the innovation team at Osmo. What we do is mostly we design and execute open innovation programs. So we work with big corporations in order for them to connect with startups. Our program goals is mainly to accelerate the commercial collaborations between those corporations and the startups. Our philosophy is to initiate win-win relationships between those two potential partners. And we do it by implementing proof of concept, accelerating the due diligence of the commercial deal, and of course, try to lighten the procurement processes. The way we develop our program is with the Osmo protocol. It's more than 10 years of rich accumulation of expertise and best practice in terms of accelerators program, ecosystem development, and corporate startups collaborations. And the methodology that I will present to you today is greatly inspired by the Founder Fuels Accelerator program's philosophy. I don't know if you heard about it, but it's an accelerator program that's been running here in Montreal for more than 10 years, and that accept early stage founders companies. So, well, it's nice to meet you. I've went to visit your website for those who are part of the focus cohort. I know there's other people on the call also, but also happy to connect at the end of the webinar. So very nice to meet you. I've researched a bit about your companies. You guys are doing very exciting work. It's very inspiring. Your website were very refreshing, and I'd be happy to hear more about you at the end of the webinar. Maybe at the end of the webinar, you could talk to me about like a small intro of your company. I'd like to hear if you're first-time founders, how big is your team, what is your ultimate vision, where do you see a company in 1 year, 5 years, 10 years? And if you've heard about OKR and define maybe your level of comfortability in setting goals and prioritizing in your business. So just a quick reminder of, just a quick reminder of why we're doing this workshop together. Well, workshop now, it's a webinar because of the COVID, but the goals that we had when developing this workshop was to present a methodology for measuring what matters for your company to succeed, of course, in this program, throughout your company's growth phase, and even on the long run of your company's development. This is why what we choose to present today is what we believe is one of the best tools for managing short-term priorities, which is called the OKR framework. It establishes a structure for you and your team to allow a rapid and achievable decision-making. And also at the end, we will explore some tips to assure that the progress of your project. So let's jump into the OKR framework. I'm just gonna, give me a second, because this little window is on, the little window was on my screen, so. Okay, so let me talk about just for an introduction about the framework, a quick introduction about the origin and adoption of this framework. So, well, first of all, what is the OKR framework? So it's a simple and powerful tool for goal setting, okay? And oh, I'm sorry, my connection is bugging. Okay, so it's a simple and powerful tool. Sorry for that. My connection is bugging a little bit. We share, we're two persons sharing the connection over here, so that's why. So it's a simple and powerful tool for goal setting, achieving perfect productivity. It's a goal management framework to help companies implement their strategy, and the acronym stands for Objective and Key Results. So where does it come from? Back in 1964, Peter Drucker developed the management by objective framework, and then it was taken by Andy Grove from Intel, who was the CEO and who founded Intel. And then after that, it was popularized by John Doerr in 1974. He went to work at Intel, and later on, he introduced the OKR framework to the Google founders. And this is how it became a tool that was largely used by large tech corporations like Google, Airbnb, and Uber. So mostly this framework comes from big corporations, but a small startup has seen the benefits of using this type of framework. And we've seen in the last couple of years a large adoption by early stage startups because it fits a lot with the lean startups principle. Okay. So why use OKR? Well, first of all, it's when a company sets goal, it makes its priority clear for everyone involved in the organization. So when you're in the startup phase, it may seem easy to align everyone around the same goals. You're only 2 to 3 co-founders, you're a few employees, a few advisors, and a few investors. But in reality, it's also very easy to lose your focus and work on things that don't deliver immediate value or that don't hit your growth objective quickly. And it's also very tempting to try to please everyone that has a certain stake in your company. I'm thinking about like investors or potential partners or major customers. So working in the wrong direction and on meaningless tasks during a few weeks for a startup is not a luxury that you founders can afford. And I think there's no need to explain why your time is very precious. So this is why goal setting matters. So so sorry, just give me a second, please. So sorry, I'm having a little hard time with the connection over here. Do you guys hear me well, or?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
No problem hearing.
It's bugging from your end, but it's working.
Yeah, let me just, very sorry for that. Let me just restart 2 seconds, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to the very important part, the big why, okay? So, well, I think I was at the benefits of the OKR, right? So the benefits of the OKR are, okay, so it's about improving your company's focus and strategy. It's about better alignment for your task and objective, prioritizing your action and your team's strategy, about accountability. It's about holding each team member accountable for their role and results. And of course, transparency between your employee, but even between your stakeholders. And I think about investors or potential partners. And when, so we were talking about the growth phase, right? And the startup phase. And when you're in the growth phase, and when you enter that very critical phase of your business, it's when you hire more employees and to support the expansion of your activities, the goal setting matters even more. And actually, since it comes from big tech corporation, OKR works best when a company grows beyond a certain size, and that your execution team will rely on management to execute the company's strategy. So as you grow, if you've managed and you've become a master of setting goal from the startup phase, this will be very beneficial because you'll be able to kind of replicate this model within your new teams and make sure that they're able to execute on more and more decision about, like, let's say financing, HR, marketing, product development, and everything that matters and all the decisions that needs to be made on a daily basis. So the purpose of goal settings also becomes a tool for aligning your employee productivity and to show what they need to focus more during the upcoming quarter, and helps them to prioritize their tasks. So I'm gonna be very clear on this, and I'm a real advocate for setting objective and prioritizing. And I really think that if you become a master of goal setting today, and if you become excellent at all aspects of goal setting, which means choosing your goals and your key results, defining the right sizing, the measurement, and communication, you could fail to build a successful, you can not fail, but you can easily succeed at building a successful and sustainable business. So this is I think, from my point of view, for working with startups, this is a very critical part in in your journey. And if you master this today, your growth will be very sustainable and effective. Okay. So how to set OKRs? So, well, first of all, what is an objective? An objective is where you want to go. Okay, it's the description of what you want to achieve in the future. It sets direction and motivation. So think of it as a destination on a map. Let's say you want to go to New York. So if you see over here, you have the objective is there's an example is improve annual budgeting and business planning. Okay, so you notice that this objective is qualitative. There's no number into it, and this is something you need to remember. Objective needs to be qualitative. Okay, and key results are the key results that you wish to achieve. To achieve your objective goal, right? So you have not more usually than 3 to 5 KR per objective. So key result is a metric with a starting value and target value that measure progress towards an objective. Okay, so it's like a signpost with a distance and to show how close you are to the objective. And I'm going to come back to this and explaining more in detail how we track this on a quantitative basis. So I'm going to repeat it. Objectives are qualitative and key results are quantitative. Okay. So how to set OKRs, the best practice. So usually you want to create a cadence of 2 times frame, one yearly and one quarterly. And this allowed for shorter review cycles, and it makes it easier for your company to change direction if the tactics are not driving progress towards the company OKR for the year. So here's how you should set your OKR. Well, first of all, you should have one OKR, one ultimate OKR, okay, for let's say a period of 5 to 7 years. So this is your ultimate kind of vision you want to achieve. Then you set 3 to 5 companies objective, okay, that will cover your strategy. And then you set a group like teams and department, 3 to 5 OKR per quarter, aligned to the company's OKR. Okay, so here are the best practice. So the objective should be straightforward, inspiring, and as I repeat again, qualitative. The key results must be quantitative, measurable, and actionable. Not more than 3 to 5 KRs per objective. You want to make your KRs stretch but possible. So you want to put a little bit of ambition into that, okay? But make sure they are realistic, okay? If you've reached, and I'm going to explain more later on how to calculate your KR, but if you reach 70 or to 80%, it's a good result, because if you're constantly reaching 100%, it's because your OKRs are not challenging enough. So remember, as a company founder, you want to have ambition and you want to achieve great results. So you must set the bar higher in order to achieve that. And if you want your goal to be understandable, you want to write for other people. Okay, so it means that picture yourself explaining this to someone else. Is it clear? Is it understandable? Or is it only in your head and it doesn't make sense? Okay, so this is why the way you write it, it needs to be actionable and very clear. So in order to find what metrics to track, okay, you can use this nice website that I really like in order to get inspiration about setting OKRs. So you see, you have different function or department in a company, and where if you go on that website, you'll be able to click on one of those subjects, okay? And you'll have different examples set by OKR. I really like that to set our own OKRs, because it's very detailed and there's a lot. I think there's like 100 examples. even more. And when you do develop those metrics, you want to keep in mind that you want strategic objective and the difference between those two, and tactical objective. So strategic objectives are more your company level objective. So what you want to achieve in a year, let's just say, okay? And it's usually honed by the entire organization. Sometimes so it's something that as an organization you decide to work towards. And you have tactical objective. Those are more like department level objective or marketing department objective, let's just say. So you have the company, and then you have your sub OKR, if I can say, that are more tactical. And those you can set them for a quarter, because remember we've mentioned that you want to be able to pivot faster or adjust your strategy in real time. Okay. So so let's have an example of an OKR. So this is a strategic objective at the company level. So you want to have your qualitative objective, which is, let's just say, finish raising new capital for our growth needs, okay? And you have a progress bar over here, okay? And this is a software that is in place, and I'll explain a few models after for you to set those. So let's just say for this example, the goal is reached to 20%, and it's probably on a year basis, or you can adjust it as you wish to the reality of your company. And you have 4 KRs. Remember, we can go up to 5. And what KRs would be for this to achieve the objective of raising capitals? It would be doing, let's say, email and phone outreach to 100 VC and seed funds. Get at least 30-second contract meeting or conference calls. Solicit at least 3 term sheets of our minimum required terms. Close an investment round with the minimum of 10 million pre-money. And as you see, there's always the progress bar. So the way you track it is you advance with a timeline you've set yourself, usually on a 2-week basis, okay? And you enter your result as you move. So let's just take the third one over here is to solicit at least 3 term sheets. Well, if you have 1 result, of course, the progress bar shows you that you're at the third of the progress. So a tactical objective, remember we've talked about marketing, it's, let's say you want to improve your brand presence. So you can get 5 earned placements in mainstream media, collaborate with 3 industry influencers on a high profile company, boost brand recognition by 50%, and growing social media following by 100%. So remember, this will be very adaptable about your own business, but you need to set clear action that will get you to the path of improving your brand presence. Let's just say in a quarter or in 2 quarters, as you wish. So if you go on the OKR EXAMPLE.co that I've mentioned, the website, they are a software as a service company that, of course, they sell their service. It costs something to go on their platform. But it's a tool probably when you get bigger that you might want to afford if you want to grow a large scale business, because it's very easy to track, and it tracks it for you, and it makes the whole calculation. But when you're in the startup phase, you can also use a very lighter model that is made by yourself in a spreadsheet, and that works very well. You have, let's just say, here I've put an example of 3 OKRs, okay, with, as you notice, no more than 3 to 5 KR. And of course, the first reaction that you'll have when you'll start drafting that is that you'll say that you'll have too much KR. You'll say, well, I need to do at least 9 actions in order to achieve my goal. And my response to that is, if you have too much, it's because you're not focusing. So what is the essential that you need to do in order to achieve those goals? And of course, there's all kinds of sub-initiatives or sub-project or sub-task in order to reach that. But in order for you to focus and achieve your goal, you need to narrow down to 5 KRs, okay? Because, or else you'll just lose the track. So as you see here, you have, let's say, grow e-commerce sales, reach 2,000 orders per month, okay? And your goal is 2,000. For that example, the results are 98. And the goal over here is to track it on a 2 weeks basis. Okay, 1 week is very short. You want to be able to make progress. So if you track them every week, you don't want to. And maybe for you the response will be a week, but I think the best cadence is 2 weeks to track them, okay, to see results. And the actual score will be, let's just say 1 if you've reached 100%, or depending on the type of metrics you set, right? So for them to reach 2,000 order per month, so here on October 26th, the highest was 98, so they didn't reach it yet, okay? And increase West Coast grocery sales. So you have online sale, in-store sales, and after that you have more of a financing goals. So these were objectives that were supposed to be completed by a startup in the course of a program. So in the course of a few months, let's just say. So this is for the quarter what they had set for themselves. Okay. Okay, so tips to become a master at goal setting. I get asked sometimes what is the difference between KPI and OKR. They can look similar, or even SMART objectives. I don't know if you heard about SMART objectives, but they're similar, but there's an important difference. OKR is more about setting your action towards an ambition, towards an ambitious goal, and your vision and your reality. Okay, and if you have big dreams, this is why I'd be curious to hear more about your dreams and your vision about your company, because you'll need OKRs to get you there. Okay, so remember, OKRs will symbolize ambition, while KPIs, it's more about the output, the quantity and quality of the ongoing process and activity. So it looks similar, but KPIs are not tied to an ambitious goal. Okay, so set flexible and agile OKR, because they will be easier to iterate. Okay, and as a startup, you'll want to pivot frequently and adjust your model and seize new opportunities very quickly. So if you adjust them every month or every quarter, it's totally fine, and it's gonna enable you to reach more velocity. And then you'll want to manage your OKR publicly, which means you'll want transparency. When we talk about transparency, now your teams are very small, so that it's easy to be transparent with them. But as you grow, you want to keep that transparency to a higher level. And also you want to be transparent with your stakeholders, as I mentioned before, with investors or with major potential partners. You want to, because it can be very tricky. I think I've mentioned it before, when you have new partners, major partners, that they might influence somehow the path of your company or the path of your development. But if you're on the same page and you communicate your OKR and what you're focusing on as a company in a year and in a quarter, it gets easier for them to respect those goals. So communication is key, and rigorous follow-up also. So we've mentioned that it's important to track the metrics on a 2-week basis, but it doesn't mean that you shouldn't have a daily focus. What we suggest when you're a startup company is that you have regular stand-up meetings. Stand-up meetings is like very light daily meetings where you each morning you get together with your team or the whole company, depending on how big or how small it is, and that you meet for like 5 to top 15 minutes, top, and everybody in the teams just speak out loud about what they're working on. So it stimulates for team members to focus on the right task and make sure that you're aligned with your OKRs and that you're accountable for realizing those goals, because as you already noticed, as a startup, you must act very quickly and be very agile. So your OKRs should be ambitious, setting goals that are hard to reach but realistic, as we mentioned. I'm going to repeat it again. It's okay to achieve your goal at 70% when you have an ambitious goal, rather than 100% of a small and achievable goal. You want your organization to move forward and be successful. And it's not an employee evaluation tool. So usually, but not usually, but sometimes founder can tend to evaluate their team with this tool. And this is not something that you should do, because it's about setting ambitious target, okay? And if you don't hit them, okay, it's because it may be a strategic time to review if those goals are meant to be there in the first place. So you don't want to penalize an employee for not reaching those goals, right? You want to look at it more strategically and find other ways to evaluate your employees, because those are tools that are made to drive the ambition of your organization forward. Okay. And so where just a small quote before I finish is a quote from Tim Robbins that had circulated for a while now. Where focus goes, energy flows.
All right, thanks, Valerie. We have a question from Maiva. Maiva, I'm gonna give you the mic to ask your first question.
Yes, and very sorry about the little bug I had there. Happy that it was okay after.
Maiva, you can unmute yourself to ask your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Hi, everyone. Thanks for the Zoom and all the information you give us. It's very interesting. And by the way, you have the hello from Elias. So yes, my first question would be, how do you create a consensual engagement around the OKR from the whole team?
From the whole team.
Okay. Well, my opinion, and it's going to be different in every company because the culture is different, but I think that as a company, the founders or senior managers should set the ultimate OKRs, okay? Because they do have the vision of the company. And after that, as we mentioned, there are other kind of sub OKRs for strategic OKRs, right, for quarters or for the years. And maybe those can be set with the employees, some of them when it's realistic, because you'll have their engagement. If they help setting the goals, they'll be more engaged in reaching them.
She had another question around, and I think it's a very interesting one, which is, when do you use KPIs versus OKRs? So what is the decision-making process for a company to decide, okay, I prefer using the KPI model versus the OKR model?
Well, when at your stage, my personal advice, and maybe some others will give you other ones, I would only stick to OKRs, because if you set them right and you decline them, as we mentioned before, you have a big company OKR. After that, you have OKRs per team or department if you want. That's enough. You don't want to have too much things to track, too much things to focus on. And I think KPIs can then be set when you become larger and you have sub-objectives. But I would not, when you're in that stage, I don't think that it's that necessary to go into very deep. But maybe if you want to, and we can look at it in another way, maybe it's not bad if you release a product though, that you want to have certain metrics to see if your product was successful, and that can be, but I think it's kind of a totally different segment, the way you should look at it.
Cool, thanks for that. Ashita, do you wanna ask your question?
Yeah, thank you, Valerie. That was good. So I was just wondering, because I often don't make the time to do this kind of exercise. And also when I was doing the OKRs for the 360, I was kind of setting objectives that I am very familiar with for myself. So I'm wondering if you would suggest having, you know, an external guidance for somebody who has more objectivity to come in and kind of spend an hour or something and setting it, because I mean, we do that occasionally to force us to have focus and to look at things more objectively.
Yeah, I think having outside experts or stakeholders, if you want, to challenge you is a good idea, because usually in our programs, when we set the OKRs with the founders, we challenge them a lot, and it can take a few days for us to say, are you sure you're ambitious enough, or are you sure you're focused enough, or are you sure it will lead you where you want? So we challenge them, and it's a very hard exercise for them, because they need to rethink their whole business, and it can take a few days for a challenge, outside challengers like us, to get them to be comfortable with the goals they're setting. And remember, and it's again a little quote, but well, maybe I'm not going to get the quote right, but success never came out of comfort zones. So it's an exercise that is of course outside of when you do it the first time, is outside the comfort zone of the founders. But I think it's necessary, and I think it's a very good idea to have expert or external person that have a strategic vision about your vision. Not anybody. You don't want to lose focus and have people who don't possess enough knowledge about your business to come and tell you a bit about the direction you should take. But you want people who know a bit your business and the path you're going, and for them to challenge. So they should not set the OKR for you, but they should challenge you to bring your vision forward and think about it.
This is making me think, we just set up an advisory board last year. We had a meeting, and it was more of an introductory meeting, but I'm thinking this might be a good exercise to have the advisory board join in on and challenge us with. So thank you.
Yeah, and this is why it's very important that you do the exercise of where you want to go in a year, in 5 years, or 7 years, 10 years, whatever you choose to track, and tell them, this advisory board, about your vision, and they'll see if it's ambitious enough for you to reach. And remember, it's okay if you reach only 70 to 80% of it, and not 100%. So it should be stretched enough, as we mentioned, and for them to know your master vision behind that will be very useful for them to challenge you.
Thank you.
Valerie, I have a question for you. How often do you think teams should be reviewing their OKRs, or re-evaluating them and reassessing them?
Okay, so there should be a regular review at every 2 weeks of the progress, where you track them. But when you review them overall, I think every quarter, okay, you review your OKRs and you see, did I hit the target? You have to give yourself enough time to be able to deliver results and not pivot too quickly. Okay, so I think a quarter is realistic, and for your yearly objective, I think it's at the end of the year. So if you follow the business cycle, I think it makes it easier. And of course, if ever you have a kind of a breakthrough learning about your business and that you need to pivot, it's okay to kind of pivot the OKRs. So this is why you need to be very flexible and agile, about the way you set them, but also realistic that you have to work long enough to make sure that you realize them and you're not always changing your goals. So.
And the long term versus the short term, because that's one thing that we've seen a lot of entrepreneurs kind of mess up, quote unquote, when they set up their OKRs, is that they make the long-term objective very nebulous. So set strategy for X, let's say. Can you go back just a little bit on the examples of the long term to show a bit more what is a long-term objective exactly, and how to set that in a proper way?
Yeah, you want to for me to show the slide again?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it was. So let's say for give me a second. Oops. Oh, I think he's back on the internet now. I don't want to lose it again.
No, you're good. You're good. We see you.
No, it's me who loses you. That's why. I was hearing myself. It was all over before. I was very. I was very mélangé. Yeah. Okay, so do you see my screen?
Yep.
Okay, let me just close this. Okay, so so is it this one you wanted me to show?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So I think for setting your, okay, so you need to think about the 5 to 7 year goal in mind, right? For setting your 1 year objective, okay? You have kind of break down a bit your the work to do in order to get there. So let's say you want to, in 5 to 7 years, become the #1 brand in your, I'm going to go very large, okay? The #1 company in your industry with that specialization, okay? In a year, let's say it's in 5 to 7 years, okay? So after that, so this is very high level, right? You can see yourself there. You can imagine what it would look like in 5 to 7 years and being in that spot. So what do you have to do in order to get there? Okay. So, and this is why the yearly objectives will be very important. Will you set a yearly objective? Okay. That will enable you to reach that goal in 5 years. Okay. So you have to be, to take the time. It's not an exercise you do very quickly in a half a day. I think it should take you 1 week or 2 at least to think about it and to challenge it. And you take your 1 year OKRs and you make sure to break down the work and the objective for you that it's going to be achievable. So let's just say to be the #1 brand in that industry for in 5 to 7 years, okay? Maybe you'll need to raise capital to arrive at that, okay? Maybe you'll have to raise capital every year for, let's say, your movie, or to develop new product, or to grow the teams, your team. So so I think you'll have to narrow it down to 1 to 3 major objective, company objective for you to get there. So maybe it's going to be raising new capital, building the team, and developing X product, let's just say, or X movie, or X tool, or X opening of locations, right? So those could be your 3 long-term, and now I'm long-term in a year, because for a startup can be long, okay, a year. And out of those 3, funding, team, and product, okay, you can break down another layer of OKR. So what will you do in order to reach those 3 goals? And it can be separated between your team members. But don't go too far in scheduling, in setting too many layers. You should not have more than 3 layers of OKR. So 5 to 7 year, 1 year, and quarterly, let's just say, because or else you'll lose your focus. Okay. When you grow as a big company, like let's say Google, it becomes a massive OKR framework and setting and process that is in place, but you're not there yet. So because you're smaller, don't go, I would not go for your long-term objective and declining those shorter term objectives. I would not go more than 3 layers. So does it answer your questions, Noor?
Absolutely. All right. I want to ask the crowd if they have any more questions.
So
Manifest yourself.
So I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
So how comfortable are you right now after the workshop to set objectives and key results? Do you see yourself already in the mindset of being able to define those 3 layers?
Feel free to answer this question on the chat. I can see some people typing. Hugues. Hold on, Hugues is reversing the question for you. So I'm going to give Hugues the mic.
Perfect.
Hugues, you can unmute yourself and ask.
Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. About the ownership of OKR, do you recommend to have functional owners for each OKR, or there's someone that should oversee the entirety of the OKR? So
I didn't hear.
Sure there's ownership.
I didn't hear you well.
We're having a hard time hearing you.
Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Can you get closer to the mic?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. It's about the ownership of the OKRs.
Yeah.
You recommend to go functional, so each OKR is owned by a functional expert in the company, or someone should oversee the overall OKR.
How many people are you in the company?
We're just 3 for now.
I would make it a kind of group responsibility. Everybody should be owner of that. As you grow, okay, and you become 10 people, 20 people, I think you should have an ambassador. You should have someone from the founding team or senior manager in the company. Okay, so let's just say you're at 5-7 years from now, and your team is growing. Someone that has been there from the start and that has the kind of funding team DNA. Okay,
yeah.
And now you can have someone who's more owner of that, while always keeping in mind that you want to set the goal, but having them involved in setting the sub goals.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that's one of the key things about OKRs is the aspect of ownership and the agility. I mean, if we take anything out of this presentation, is these 2 main aspects, because with the OKRs, the fundamental thing is to do it in collaboration with your leadership team, so that the objectives are clear and adopted by everyone.
Yeah.
And then the key results can also be evaluated and defined by the entire team, so that inherently will create a form of ownership by your team.
Yeah.
And the more people have participated in the creation of it, the more they're comfortable with the objectives that you've set, and the more comfortable you are by them achieving those goals and those objectives. So with that being said, Valerie, do you have any last words before the end of the session?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll give this presentation to Noor for you to have it with you, and I'm also available for the startups of the cohort if you want to brainstorm a bit about how to set your OKRs. I'd be happy to as part of the program. And yeah, I hope this was useful for you, and that you'll accept the challenge of setting these OKR goals and maintaining the structure. And yeah, and again, very sorry for the problem with the connection over there. I hope it did not.
It was not a problem at all. As I said, it helped people get their coffee in the morning. So
okay, cool. Well, I felt so I'm happy that we ended up delivering it.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Valerie, and thanks so much for everyone who got connected this morning. So I wish you all a great end of the day, and we'll share with you the presentation after this session.
Perfect. Have a good day.